How did you catch your significant other cheating on you? Back when MySpace survey quizzes were popular, I was reading one that she posted. A question on the quiz read, who was the last person you kissed had sex with? The answer was not my name. Hahaha. I'm sorry bro, but that's so crazy. Got a ridiculously irate phone call one morning from some woman asking why I kept texting her boyfriend and that I was ruining their family. Her boyfriend was my husband. He had 2 SIM cards that he switched out of his phone, and he worked nights. She had 2 kids of her own and he was spending a couple nights a week at her house when he was taking vacation time from work. 11 days ago, he had still been signed into his Gmail on my laptop. When I went to Gmail, it was his email. I found lots of emails to lots of girls about cheating. We've been together 8 years, married for 1.5. I still feel like I'm in shock and don't know what to do. If I were you, I would make a copy of the emails to use in your divorce hearing. She wrote it in her diary, and our babysitter snooped, read it, and told me. Her roommate was nice enough to tip me off and tell me to break up with her ASAP. She was going to wait until after her birthday so she could still get a gift. So goddamn manipulative. My friend was this but the opposite. Didn't want to ruin this girl's birthday with a breakup. Went through with all the birthday gifts and plans he made for her, then broke up with her a week after. She was having an argument with a housemate and they shouted at her, with me in the room, "At least I'm not cheating on my fiance." She moved out less than a week later. Jesus dude. I technically didn't catch him cheating, because he came clean about it when he broke up with me. I did, however, find out who he cheated with. He told me it was with his friend Natalie, who I had never heard of before, except for the time maybe days earlier when he told me about his half-black friend Natalie. Okay, at the time I wasn't sure why he shared this detail. This was 10 years ago when we were all fresh out of high school, so I don't remember exactly how the conversation went. Days go by and a co-worker asks me if we're still together, because she saw him kissing a girl, and she shares her description as darker skinned. I tell her we broke up, and that's probably the girl he cheated on me with. It's okay. Days go by and my good friend Nora's older brother invites me to hang out. Totally out of the blue. I take him up on it and we go to a park near his parents' house. Lo, we spot Nora's car. We're walking through the park and there's Nora's parents' dog running around off leash. And there, on a gentle slope, is Nora and my recent ex making out on the grass. Nora and her brother are Egyptian and could easily be described as half black or darker skinned. He, my ex, made Natalie up. She called me from a party, completely wasted, to inform me that she had just sucked some guy's dong in the bathroom. Better than hiding it, I guess, but it certainly wasn't my favorite 3 AM phone call. Yeah, that's crappy, but at least she owned up to it. She left her shoes at our place, and they left the condom wrapper on the floor beside the bed. I mean, that's just plain lazy. After we broke up, literally 5 hours after we broke up, he updated his Facebook relationship status to engage to a girl who I thought he was just friends with. She uploaded a photo showing off the ring with a caption, "He finally asked," and I said yes. He wasn't cheating on you with her, he was cheating on her with you. Oh man, I have a winner. I had surgery on my testicles due to a possible tumor. It wound up being benign, so I'm recovering that evening in bed. My girlfriend, long distance, visited me to take care of me. All is going great, except for my balls hurting and my wearing of a diaper. But hey, I had just come back from Afghanistan, so life was still pretty sweet. My girlfriend offers to make me some food. Sweet. So she asks me to look up a recipe on my phone. I can't find my phone, so she tosses me hers. Well, let me tell you, in the midst of me looking up a great chicken cordon bleu recipe, a message from my friend Ryan flashes across the top of the screen. I can't make it out, but it looks an awful lot like a dong. I'm like, oh Ryan, what are you giving a hard time to my girlfriend about? So I click the message, if only to relay what I presumed was a joke to her. Well, let me tell you, joke was on me. Those two had been going to Bonetown, USA while I was deployed. They talked about me being gone as a sixcation. My girlfriend asks if I found anything good. I'm like, oh heck yeah now. I show her the texts. She denies anything happened. Which is, well, dumb. So me being a man of dignity, kick her out of the apartment and send her on her way to Georgia, wearing adult diapers. I kicked her B out of my place. Honestly, I just wish I had found out after I had eaten some cordon bleu. People who cheat on their deployed SOS are scum of the earth. My sister met the girl he had gotten pregnant, and then told me about it. What a bastard. She told me her little cousin, who is mentally handicapped, swallowed something, a battery I think, and was in the hospital in NC and was flying down there. Later she went and took a nap. I was on the computer, clicked on the favorite place link to Gmail and saw a flight confirmation email to NY. I realized it was her account and not mine. I sat at the edge of the bed calm as could be, and as soon as she woke up I asked her what she was doing in NY. She tried to say she didn't know what I was talking about, but I told her I saw the email. She then said she was going to visit some friends, and I was like, oh, is that why you made up this big lie about your cousin? Phone dinged. I checked it. Same phones, no case, both charging next to each other. The text said I miss you too and was from a girl he was dating when we were separated. Fast forward a few months to when he deploys. Check his email because at this point I know something is up. Find emails. So I contact the mistress. She was very transparent with me and told me that basically they were dating before he even met me, which means he courted me, asked me to marry him, married me, then we had a child together, all while he was still seeing her. We separate for a year. He dates her exclusively. We get back together, and he maintains a relationship with her. All of this without me knowing. I found this all out while I was a month away from birthing his second child and he's getting shot at in Afghanistan. We decide to work through it, but I never could get over the fact that he cheated on me for 4 years and had no problem hiding it from me, and only came clean because I found out, as in, he had no intention of coming clean. When he returned home he confessed to many other times with other people. Thank God I never got an STD. After 3 subsequent years of him refusing to go to counseling so that we can actually deal with it, he tells me he wants a divorce. A month before we are supposed to PCS to Alaska, moved back home with the kids, filed for divorce, and life is amazingly better now. Frick that guy, though I am appreciative that he loves our kids. At least you got out before Alaska. It's expensive as frick to move back Conus without orders. 1. We shared a family plan for phone service that I was the administrator of. Weird stuff has been happening, so I did a little research. Saw he was texting and calling the same number a lot, so I asked phone carrier for transcripts and saw all the dirty stuff he had been texting to the other girl. 2. Friend sent me a screenshot of my then BF from Tinder. I check his phone and he didn't have the app. So I downloaded Tinder onto his phone to find out he had an active account and was actively engaged in messaging and meeting up with girls, and he had just been deleting the app from his phone when he was hanging out with me. My story is similar. He had a habit of leaving his FB logged in and open on my laptop. Also, I never wore bobby pins, scrunchies, or hair ties with metal clasps in my hair. Also, he told me to text my friend on his phone to tell her we were late and had apparently forgotten that their previous messages were still right there. When confronted, he vomited. I thought it was fairly obvious when she let her best guy friend stay at her house every weekend. I called it quits when I drove up and she was washing his car for him while wearing a bikini. I called her at work and their receptionist asked, is this her boyfriend, Dave? No, it's her fiancé, FSM 20132. I'd had suspicions for a few months before that, but this was the clincher. All I can think is imagine being that receptionist. Sorry that happened to you, though. Hope you're doing well. First time, the guy told me. Next time, she told me. He was in the basement of the house we had just bought together having phone sex with her, not realizing that the sound would travel through the vents. It sucked at the time, but in hindsight he did me a huge favor. My girlfriend started working with and talking about this girl, and inviting the girl and her GF to go to dinner with us. We went on a double date with this couple a few times over the course of 3 weeks, and I noticed every time we were all 4 out, my girlfriend would drink much more heavily than usual. We were having them over for dinner one Sunday but had an adult sports game before, which usually involved light drinking, and she was acting super weird about making sure we were home on time and had dinner ready, etc. That night, After they left, she passed out on the couch next to me. Her Apple Watch buzzed and I glanced over and saw a selfie of this girl, which was enough to get me to look at her phone, for the first time ever, where I find texts with sexting and details about their hookup. I took screenshots of all of it and sent it to my phone. I got dressed, texted a friend, packed a backpack, and woke her up by throwing her phone, with those messages open, at her and walking out the door. She groggily sorted it all out and attempted to contact me all night and eventually texted the other girls GF those screenshots, which I thought was pretty crappy. Sort of, and if I'm going down, you're going down with me. My first GF, I lost my virginity to banged some dude from high school that allowed her to wear his Letterman jacket home since it was cold. He came to her house to get it back and said it just felt right, all while I was at work. Worst part was she told me on AIM when I got home. Oh, the AIM breakups frick. He has a long-time friend of his, who happened to be female, who was staying the night. She was sleeping in the basement bedroom and we were upstairs. Well, he slipped out of bed in the middle of the night and woke me up. When he noticed, he told me he had to go to the bathroom. I guess I already had my suspicions, because I lay there and listened to him walk down the hall, then past the bathroom, and down the stairs. So, I followed, and caught him in the basement getting ready to frick her. Oh, I was not a happy puppy, was stupid and tried to salvage our engagement, but I wasn't fun anymore and he left. You dodged a bullet. If you'll do that while you are still young and in love, just wait till things die down a bit or you hit a rough patch. Find someone who knows you're worth being enough for them. Ex worked a night shift and I worked day shift, so I'd wait for her to come home, so kids wouldn't be sleeping alone, and one night she just didn't show up. Pulled up find my iPhone to find out she's at her ex's house. She came home a little later after texting calling her constantly with some extra news saying he got her pregnant. What a wonderful day. Kick his butt. See base. Found underwear that didn't belong to me, despite him desperately trying to convince me that they were mine. My ex-wife found random panties in my laundry once. I guess they had been left in the dryer. Luckily she believed that I wasn't having an affair with somebody who wears XL granny panties. I found out when I tested positive for chlamydia. I had let her borrow my car while I took the bus to work. My friend called me at work that my girl was making out with some guy in my car. So I got a taxi over there and yup, there she was. I knocked on the window, guy jumped out. I was going to start beating his butt, but I just told him just leave, this might not be your fault. She started making excuses. I just asked her to step out the car, got my keys and drove away a mess. She screwed me up for a long time. She made me lose trust in women and fricked up my concept of relationship for a long time. She told me in gratuitous detail the name, body type and sex act she performed with like 10 different dudes, ranging from making out to intercourse with only 2 dudes. She thought I would forgive her and ITD bring us closer and like ITD be good so we could talk about those experiences together. After this she moved for an open relationship, which made it all okay because she'd get to retroactively apply our open status. I was young, in love, and heartbroken, so I said yes because I was desperate to hang on to her. Then she broke up with me when I hooked up with someone else after like 4 months of open status and her having like a primary FWB because I liked her too much. Yay, that was an abusive relationship. Frick people like that. Don't agree to that if you aren't willing to. And don't cheat. Talk about it ahead of time. I'm glad you got out of that train to heck. Frick her. Turns out she was discarding her Uno cards under the table. She left our 2-year relationship for this guy. Then I start getting messages from him, and I was mad. I take my love very seriously, I guess, lol. So I keep getting Facebook messages, and then I check his Facebook. The account only has 2 friends, no pictures, and is 4 days old. Turns out, he immediately left her when she left me for him. But she wanted me to crawl back to her, so she made a fake account to make me jealous. I legitimately stopped breathing from how hard I laughed. Ex-girlfriend. Woke up one morning and it was plastered all over her Snapchat story of her making out with her ex at some Christmas party. This was the day after a very intense romantic evening with her. Was a tough day to get through for sure. She decided to completely drop contact with me after with no answers to what happened. But thank frick I'm out of that train wreck now though. 1 month on and I'm doing much better. She cheated on me with a guy she claimed was like a brother to her. She broke up with me after 3 years, and I only found out once his ex-girlfriend told me that she broke up with him because he was cheating on her with my ex-girlfriend. Tell me you got with her. I was gone for a week for work, got back to my building after a flight home, and had no ride. She forgot to come pick me up. I finally got a hold of her, came to pick me up half drunk, went back to our house. I was unpacking and turned around and she had her hair and makeup done and just said I'm going out. See her and left. This was after I had been gone for a week. The next day was Friday. She had got home after I went to bed and left for work before me. I got home and she was already gone and had texted me and said she was going to her friend's house to hang out for a house party for the weekend. I didn't hear from her again for 2 days despite calling and texting her. She got home late Sunday night and told me she lost her phone in the couch. I told her this wasn't working and she needed to leave. She packed a bag while I cracked a beer on the couch. A couple days later my friend emailed me a boatload of pictures from the weekend she disappeared of her and the guy she was cheating on me with. He had posted them on his MySpace that Sunday evening. She actually continued to frick up things for me for quite a while after this. Financially mostly, but eventually I got free of that disaster and moved on happily. My ex-wife and I went up to Big Bear to go snowboarding and spend some time together. We were having issues and I thought it'd be fun to get away and do something fun together. Let's just say it did not go well. She said she grew up snowboarding but she never made it down a hill and had a terrible time. So we went back to the cabin and she was pretty much just on her phone, not talking to me. We make it back and she says she needs to just shower and be alone for a bit. She goes off and I just hang in the den. She left her phone in her purse and it just kept buzzing. So I checked it out because what if someone was trying to reach us or something? I open it up to read a full conversation between her and this guy. It wasn't good. I read how that day's text started and they started really early in the morning. Hope you're doing okay up there. We'll see. Doubt it. He's trying too hard. He should just know it really doesn't matter. Wish I was up here with you instead. A pic of her. Just the worst stuff. And that was before I even woke up. I was pretty devastated and really didn't know what to do. I knew I didn't want to fight because I realized she wasn't worth fighting for. Grabbed my bag and drove back to San Diego. I took her phone with me so I could text him and tell him we're coming home early. Let's meet. I ended up inviting him to a coffee shop and waited for him to show up. When he walked through the door, he saw me immediately and kind of stopped. I waved him over and wasn't too far from the door so I told him we need to talk. He comes over and already front loads with her. It's not what you think. Blah blah balls. I told him that he wants her. He can take his sorry butt to Big Bear and go get her. Because I was leaving and I withdrew. See you when we sign the papers. And I left. Second worst day of my life but I'm glad it happened. Met my lady 3 years later and have now been together for 4 years and now engaged. I don't know if you asked this because you yourself are going through this and need comfort and to know what to do. But I hope this is just a hypothetical question and if not, there are better partners out there for us. You just need to let life introduce you to them. She kept deleting all her texts. I got suspicious and told her I had a cool program on my PC that picks up all texts wirelessly. Confronted her saying I had seen them on my PC. She admitted it without me seeing a thing. I had accused him previously but over and over he turned it around and got upset that I didn't trust him. Finally, after talking to the girl he cheated with on the phone, we called him together and he came clean. He couldn't lie to us both. Oh boy, story time. So, I'd been with this girl for 2 years. I was madly in love with her. I was going to propose. Bought a ring. Went to pay her a surprise visit. Walked in because I had a key. Found her in bed with another man. Threw the box with the ring at her. Walked out. Drove off. Never looked back. Got about 5 miles away. Pulled over and broke down crying. She left her diary laying around, which is to say, in her unguarded bookshelf. I was hanging at her place while she was at class and I read a few of the most recent entries, fully knowing I was opening a Pandora's box of secrets better left closed as we had been growing more distant lately. Big surprise, she wrote about falling for the other guy and how she didn't know how to leave me. She then mentioned how the sex was much better with me and how he was sort of a dead fish, which initially made me feel a bit better until I read that she had gone out shopping for Valentine's Day gifts and had apparently went all out on him but hit the clearance racks for me. Gifts aren't important to me, but that deep forethought it took to make that sort of decision really irked me. So, I waited for her to get home, and we had the most intense angry sex I've ever had in my life. I knew it was going to be the last time I'd ever get to enjoy her body, so I just went to town. The tough bit being that she was certainly enjoying it more than me without the weight of impending heartache on her mind. It got so intense someone knocked on the door to make sure everything was alright, to which she breathlessly replied, "Oh yeah," which is still a source of pride for me, honestly. However, I'll never forget that feeling after staring up at the ceiling and listening to her breathing heavy still and just knowing. An old best friend texted me and told me, looking back, all the red flags were there, so I should have known. But I was so thankful she let me know, even though we hadn't spoken in quite some time. What gave it away for me is when she said I cheated on you. My story is something out of Black Mirror. Girlfriend of 6 years went out of town with a couple of her girlfriends for a weekend. I decided to check her Facebook profile to see if she posted any new pics or whatever and noticed that this one guy liked almost every status she posted. He never commented. I was just curious who he was because she never mentioned him. His profile was mostly private, but he had a couple pictures and statuses that I could view. Just figured it was a classmate or something. She's in law school, until I scrolled upon a picture that stood out. It was a pic of his parked car that a hit and run driver smacked into overnight while street parked. I almost kept scrolling when something hit me. The background of picture gave me a weird feeling. His car was parked on the street that I recognized because of the brick roads that we have downtown. Upon closer inspection, the reason I recognized it was because it was right outside my girlfriend's house. When she got back, I talked to her about it. Of course, she at first came up with a bull's story about how some friends from school crashed at her place because she lives near downtown and they couldn't drive. I'm not an idiot though, because I know she'd tell me if somebody hit her friend's car outside her house. Eventually she broke down and confessed she'd been cheating for a year. It turned my life inside out. We had plans to move in a week after I found out, and I was going to propose on our anniversary a few weeks after that. I noped the frick out of the relationship, even though she is still begging to this day for forgiveness. It's just so weird because of the coincidence I came across this pic, that the pic was even public, and the fact that if the picture was taken a foot closer to the damage, I'd have never known. I just got such a weird feeling from the small amount details I could make out in the background. TLDR. Black Mirror. Stumbled across a picture of her friend's damaged car. Recognized it was outside her house. Confront her and the truth comes out. He got herpes and I didn't have them. Still don't. I'm clean. TBF. Herpes is usually spread when the person who has them is in the middle of an outbreak. He could have had it way before you. Either way, nice dodging. My phone broke, so she gave me her old one. For some reason it didn't clear everything out when she did the factory reset. Found pictures and text messages from the last 2 years. Fricked me up pretty good. The phone came through for you by not deleting everything. It's got your back. I've been cheated on 3 times. Twice by the same girl, all when I was in the military. The first time I was at my duty station maybe a month and I got a call from my girlfriend who said she was going to sleep over at a mutual friend's house. I didn't buy it for a second and figured she was driving down to San Diego from Los Angeles to hang with an old crush who was in the Marine Corps. Funny enough, the mutual friend told my ex that they really should go home because there was no way I believed her. Anyway, after a few hours our mutual friend called, but said she couldn't tell me and passed the phone off to some random girl who said I should call my girlfriend because they saw her in a room with a guy and his pants were down. Long story short, my ex's mom ended up calling and vouching for my ex, and since I knew the mutual friend had a crush on me I stayed with her since I didn't really have proof. Not smart. A few months later I was talking to another mutual friend who was really upset about a guy she liked that I was friends with. While she was talking to me she said, "I just don't know how you're okay with it." To which I asked for more details. Apparently the guy that she liked was always holding hands and cuddling, kissing, sleeping in the same bed as my ex. But they told her that I was okay with it because we were all friends and they weren't having sex. I broke up and never looked back. Years later, while on a deployment, I was with another girl at this time. A buddy of mine went home for leave and noticed some guy driving my car. My car was easily identifiable, so he asked the guy if it was for sale to see what was up. The guy said it was his girlfriend's car, and my buddy remarked it looked like a dude's car, especially with a window sticker I had about shooting Bin Laden before he was killed. The guy confessed that it was his girlfriend's ex-boyfriend's car, but the guy was a total shitbag who was in jail. My buddy then asked if he was sure that the guy, me, wasn't deployed, and he said the guy got really nervous, which told him that he knew about me and was banging my girlfriend anyway. He beat on him a little bit and then drove my car from Georgia to Los Angeles, where I had family to take care of it before flying home. I gifted him 10 grand for his troubles, especially since he took time away from his wife and kids. Obviously we broke up. She got knocked up by the guy and he bailed, so she quickly slept with another guy and pinned the pregnancy on him. She got super fat too, and I banged her best friend when I went home on leave because she felt guilty about introducing my ex to the guy she cheated on me with. Dude, that's a freaking bro. Sorry, a Marine was a Jody. We had just upgraded phones. I'm not even completely sure why, but shortly after the iPod did some sort of sync or acknowledgement since we had a new device on the same account. Didn't think much of it, but then all these new text messages load up. Wasn't expecting to see and read all that after dinner time. I got this idea from the Monday Morning podcast by Bill Burr a few years back. Was in a long and troubled relationship which included cheating. So to end it as smooth as possible, given that she was incredibly overdramatic, I moved out when she went away on a trip to her parents. Weeks before she went I began to look for apartments and signed a lease. When she went away my brother and I began moving everything out the apartment we shared. Let's just say 2 days later when she returned she wasn't too happy. My ex moved out while I was at work one day. We'd broken up so I knew he was going. Just wasn't expecting a ton of my stuff and everything in my bank accounts to go to. He also trashed the place, just for bonus points. He moved from my place straight into hers. Got to love it. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.